Oh, good. Good. Yes.
Yeah,
Glad you tried that.
Now, the thing is, this thing floats around so much, it has to be held and expanded.
You're the man.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'll stand here.
We're in deep shit if that's the case. Oh, wait a minute, that's going over the...
Testing 1, 2.
So once you're live, you can you?
Oh, you're live already. So you started.
Yeah, it's already started.
Should I try to talk louder? Good.
No, she's moving.
How does it sound down here? I'm talking very softly. Closer to your mouth. Does that sound better? It sounds echoey to me.
8 inches.
How is this? Better? Closer's better?
The feedback is better. No.
I don't hear any squeaks.
Don't move. He's moving. Okay. All right. 2. Somebody got tired. Now it's 2. Oh, back to 3. You know,
As people are getting seated, there's still a rain, isn't there? As people are getting seated, I just want to remind everyone that we have handouts. You can see what the questions are going to be, and you can be informed of how we came up with the questions. And there's biographical information and some other things like that. So be sure to pick them up on the way out if you have not done it to start. And I think we're ready to get going here. I'll have to stay over here. Thank you, Andy. My name is Alice Lindahl, and I'm here to welcome you to our candidate forum for the Board of Directors. And I wanted to make sure you knew that the people who organized this were an ad hoc committee. We were not part of the board. In fact, we never got around to asking their permission to do this, and they were most gracious about providing us with everything we needed to be here. And I hope you guys can all stay warm. That's my biggest worry, is a big gust of wind will come through here. Our group is made up of 5 just regular voters like you who wanted to meet the candidates. This is a wonderful opportunity to have more candidates than we have board seats, and so it makes it a real election in that sense. So you can look around the room, and people who are wearing a big sign like this, there's Sonia up front, Sarah Wagner, she's second row, Matt, who's back there with the clipboard, and Andy up front. Andy will be our timekeeper, and Dennis is going to be the person moving the microphone. I just have a few words to say, and thanks to the folks who are running. This way? the folks who are running for the board to put out your time and effort to provide leadership for our subdivision. And we have, I personally know that many of you have done many more activities associated with helping Leilani through the volcano eruption and its aftermath. And some of the folks that you see here even lost homes, and they were out there the next morning helping everybody get their stuff moved. And also many of our candidates spent a lot of time driving, keeping us safe during the eruption. So I wanted to thank them for that. And it's over and above to also be a board member. We're glad they're doing it. I want to introduce our moderator, Rick Kelly, who's visiting us here from Orchid Land. And Sarah is going to introduce him. So you have to come up here.
Hi everyone, welcome. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Rick Kelly. Originally from Dallas, Fort Worth, Rick studied at the University of Texas, got his bachelor degree, and went on to study his undergraduate studies in California. Moving back to Texas, he worked for 25 plus years working on research for genetics. He currently lives in Orchid Land on 3 beautiful acres that are gorgeously landscaped. He is a past president of the Orchid Society, and he is the current president of the Hawaiian Island Palm Society. He is a wonderful person, well-spoken and intelligent. That's a little bit about what he is, but just as importantly, what he isn't. He is not a resident of Leilani Estates. He does not vote in this election. He's not a part of the LCA. He doesn't own a home here or land. He is impartial and unbiased, and it was very important for us to have a moderator who was unbiased so that all the candidates here would feel that they had a voice and someone to moderate that didn't have a stake in this election. That was very important to us as a committee. We are very honored to have him here with us today, and we thank you for your time, and let's let the forum begin.
Just a few ground rules for our format today. We're having the candidates answer 4 questions and then have one final statement where they can say anything they'd like to impart. And we have an opportunity at the end of our session to have you meet with the candidate you might like to ask questions of, or just meet them, period. And if you want to ask a question and either have to leave or are too shy to do it any other way, we have these little cards. And you can write your question on the card and turn it in to any one of us with a name tag on, or give it to the candidate at the end. We're going to spread them out a little bit so everybody will have a chance to talk closer. That is blown away by the wind. Let's see. The only other thing I wanted to mention was, I hope you picked up this little chart that says priorities, and it helps you understand how we came up with the questions for the candidates. We asked people in Leilani what they cared about, what they wanted to talk about with their candidates, and we asked the candidates what they might be interested in as a high priority for their participation. That doesn't mean that these issues are somewhat unimportant. Everybody,
Doesn't quite work.
Lots of people thought any one of them was very important. But we're going to focus on the ones that have the most interest from both parties. And that's why we are talking first mainly about crime and ridding Leilani of criminal elements. The second one is about the gate. The third one is about tourism. The fourth one is about transparency and communicating between residents and board. And I hope that you don't mind that we're not going to go down the row and have each person present their bios to tell you where they're from and that sort of thing. It takes 20 minutes for us to spend a minute and a half with each of our candidates. So we have their bios on the handout too. You might like to read that or pick one up on the way. And I'm sorry we can't have questions from the audience, and I hope that it works out that you can get your question answered. If you want to ask all 10 of our candidates a question, you'll have to fill out 10 cards and ask each one. So have I missed anything? Committee? Okay.
Okay, just for clarification, the first 3 questions will all be 90 seconds each. And then the last one will be a single minute for their closing communications. I mean, there'll be a 2-minute for their closing statements. Okay, the first question is a little bit unusual because different candidates will answer different questions. So the question is, what was your #1 priority? And each of them candidates have chosen their top priority, and we're asking you, how will you intend to move forward on that priority? And we're going to start with crime. So, Greg Armstrong, could you tell us how you'll be dealing with the crime issue?
Oh God, they're gonna move on.
Anyways, thank you everybody for coming. And the crime was #1 on my list, and it's been important for everybody since the eruption. It kind of spiked up after that, and I think we've already got a good group in line with Andy and Alice and their team. They've already had some successes, and I think we just need to show our support to them and move forward with that.
Next will be Chris Wilmeister. You can right there.
No.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, the reason why crime was #1. The reason why crime was #1 on my list. Well, crime's been an issue in Leilani Estates for years. It predates the eruption. I think there's a lot of things that we should have been doing a long time ago, keeping account of empty homes, things like that. But having legal advice to help guide us through the process of making charges stick helped a bunch. That's where the squatter committee came in, and I think that made a big difference, and I think if we keep pushing that effort, we'll nip this thing in the bud. So, it's very important. Got to keep going. I'd love to see all the crime, the criminals, the meth dealers, the looters, the squatters eliminated from this neighborhood. I pretty much have zero tolerance attitude towards it, and that's just how I feel. Thank you.
25 feet. Right.
Heath Dalton, I think pretty much everyone's response to this is going to be about the same. I think what's started with Andy and that group is working out well. I just believe that they need a little support on the attorney side for the legal aspect. And where it comes to where we talked about the homes as well, I'm kind of torn on that part. I don't think that community funds should necessarily be used to protect somebody's personal assets, but I also understand where that becomes an issue. So I think that would best be dealt with by a committee like we've started versus using community funds. But if something comes up, I believe at that point we could look at it. That's pretty much about all I have on that.
Our next up will be Rod Kendall.
Safety is the most important, I think, function of government. Make you feel secure. It has other functions, and we'll get into those tonight. But if you don't feel safe in your homes, then the board hasn't succeeded. And to accomplish that objective, and that's why I put crime number 1, and number 2, I put empty homes, is, for example, what the squatter committee is currently doing. There is no simple answer, but it's a question of being focused, being methodical, get the connections with the police, and we're seeing action as a result of what that committee has done. And the other thing is, I really believe we need to have a very strong street captain, block captain organization. The more a community is aware of what's going on within it, the more people have eyes out for each other, there's more a sense that we're in this together, crime will go down. And then we say the word crime. Do we really have data? I don't know. I have not received monthly reports. I would like to know how much crime is in fact going on. And so should we be alarmed or not be alarmed? Thank you.
Okay, next up is Robert Golden.
A lot of people don't know me, but I've been around for a little while. I'm prepared what I'm saying. I'm always prepared. 66% of the respondents say crime is number 1, and you see it's important because so many people said it. So thanks to the Squatter Squad and the Neighborhood Watch for what they've done. I got 3 things I would do. One is I document the process that the squad's going through, that everybody does. A, B, C, D, a standard operating procedure. So if there's a follow-up for another group, or if the group goes away, there's somebody else that knows how to take over and do what's being done. It also works to control behavior. So
How do you do
the squad would, for some reason, be out of line. And you can identify that. I change up the idea of, like, see, this is what the Squatter Squad is doing, and it's all good. I like to turn organizations upside down. I want to see what can we do. Have the Squatter Squad or any committee come to the board and say, this is what I'm doing, this is help I need. The board should rarely say, what can I do to help you? If you're successful, how do I mirror that on other committees? If they need a lawyer, you do it. Whatever that team needs is what you do. I'd hire an off-duty policeman to do random patrols. His patrols might be based on statistics we get from the Neighborhood Watch Group that identify areas, parts of the community, or individuals. Thank you very much.
The last speaker on crime will be Jay Thompson.
Good evening, and thanks for everyone coming. We really got the crime effort started back at the November board meeting, where we had several of our residents on Miley that were having extreme difficulties with squatters there. And it just occurred to me that we may as well call this our number 1 priority from the perspective of the board. That's when we created the crime group, which Andy currently heads up. It also launched a significant effort with the police department. Both our first 2 houses did require quite a bit of legal guidance to actually get that ball rolling. That helped us learn about it. From there, we visited another house yesterday with a squatter, and there have been several more identified. We'll have more going. Not all of, every one of them is a little bit different. Some will require more legal efforts, others will require less. And as long as the board is supporting this as a #1 priority, there we go. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we're going to switch to Ross Stagnick, whose top priority was the lawyer.
All of the questions that were asked of us were really good. Very hard to pick and choose which ones. At the last board meeting, it was brought up that even as well as the squatter committee had done, Andy and his group, that we still needed help with lawyers. If that's the case, I definitely believe we still need lawyer help. I believe that the times have changed just by seeing how many people are here tonight. It's obvious that people are interested, and that's a great thing, because in years past, you can't get enough people even to come to a meeting, let alone volunteer their help. So the lawyer is important, but crime goes along with that. We got to stop the crime, because this is my paradise, it's your paradise. We want it all to be paradise for everyone for a long time to come. On top of that, you got to bring in the CC&Rs. We all agreed to the CC&Rs when we bought. If you inherited your property, you inherited the CC&Rs. They're all important. You can't pick and choose. No one has the right to pick and choose which ones they will follow. Because if we allow people to live in tents and on their property, right now it's happening. Do neighborhood watch, you'll see. How do we know? That's not allowed. It's in the CC&Rs. Are they a squatter in a tent? Or is that a legitimate homeowner? So you got to have some way. We got to follow all the rules, and that's what I'm all about.
Okay, I was asked to use the microphone for the introductions, and our next speaker will be Ms. Jeremiah, and she'll be talking about relations between Leilani 2 and Leilani 1.
Aloha. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the resilience of our residents that live in Leilani, and how they continue to want to be here and to restore. My passion is community building, and I believe in unity, and I believe that our whole Leilani estates can work together in rebuilding again. We are in a new normalcy, and so if we work with aloha and kindness, we will see a wonderful community, a model for the rest of our communities and for other islands, and even the world. So believe in yourself, because I believe in you, and that's why I am here. And so it is.
Okay, and finally, Emily Rivera, would you like to speak on a topic? You get a choice of anything you want for 90 seconds. Whatever your top priority is.
Thank you. I'm going to read this to everyone because it's really hard for me to pick anything, okay? My name is Emily Rivera, and I've run for a seat on the Leilani Board of Directors. I've lived in Leilani for the last 19 years, and during that time, I've been very happy living here. I've met so many remarkable people in Leilani. Until recently, due to the lava, I never realized that there were so many people unhappy with the association and that feel that it is solely the board members' responsibilities to solve all problems. I understand that we find ourselves in difficult situations. However, prior to the lava, I do not recall any concerns against the board of directors. I've served on the board previously 2 years and always felt that the board members tried to address the issues at hand to their best of our abilities. I have and will always try to help the people in Leilani. I know that we find ourselves up against multiple issues, and I believe that we should try to treat every issue as a top priority. Also, most important things that we need to happen is rebuilding and restoring trust in our community. work together in order for our community to heal and move forward. I'm opposing the community tourists mainly because I don't feel that we need it at this time. I ride around and I see that there's not that many people. And as far as the gate goes, I don't think that most people really do want a gate. If we can solve it in another way, I believe that that would be better for everybody. I'm sorry, I know my time's up. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay. So as far as Leilani goes, I have never had a problem with any people that reside in this area. I believe that it is a recent issue and have never felt that we were divided prior to the lava incident. As long as I've lived in Leilani, I've never witnessed any issues concerning the two sections. I have a lot of people that I know in Leilani 1 and 2, and until now, everybody got along. So I think that we should really strive for that.
Right on.
As far as an attorney, we should not have an attorney on retainer, which I heard that people were talking about putting a retainer for $4,000 a month. I believe we need an attorney for certain issues, but not to have someone on retainer. We should have an attorney of record in case Leilani has any issues. At least we have someone that could take care of it. Since the lava has come and affected our land and homes, we've transformed into a community riddled with animosity and negativity. I don't like that, and I'm sure nobody likes that, but it's happening. I commit to working towards healing and restoring the love and trust that once was here in Leilani. I hope that we can work alongside each other to make the tough decisions that will benefit the generations to come. Respectfully, me. Thank you.
Okay, so the rest of you will get a long closing statement, and Emily will not get a closing statement. Just so it's clarity on that.
Okay, we're going to change the format just a little bit now, and so now all of the candidates will be getting the same question, and we'll be going down the table, but we'll be starting in different positions for each question, so nobody gets the first time each cycle. And we'll start with Robert Golden, and the question is regarding a gate for the community. And recently there was a poll, and roughly 60% of Leilani Community Association members, and that vote was 352 in favor of a gate and 245 against the gate. So that was the recent poll, and so now we're asking our candidates, would you proceed with trying to put up a gate? And if you would, how would you do that? Or do you oppose a gate? And if you do, why do you oppose it?
I believe the board should carry out the will of the people. So if more than a majority of the people here want a gate, then it's the obligation of the board to follow through on that. Personally, myself, I was against the gate. But, in fact, my model of the community that I'm looking for is more like Kapoho Vacation Land, where I could go and use their tidal pools without a gate stopping me from doing that. But again, if the community wants a gate, then we, as your board, should follow through, in all good faith to create that gate for you. Thank you.
So, Ms. Jeremiah, do you want to speak to this topic? Okay, you can come up here.
Thank you. It's the first time I'm doing this, so I was confused about the whole thing. But I did want to read my thoughts that I wrote on today. First of all, Leilani Estate has become one of many attractions for tourists, as well as local visitors, because of the eruption that has changed Lower Puna. This is not the first time we had a visit from Pele, Ailau, and Keahi, Alaka. The stories have been written and unspoken for some time and now revived. In the restoration of Leilani, I would encourage each one of us to participate in the rebuilding of Leilani Estates with our shared ideas and skills. Building trust, transparency, and communication between the LCA and the residents is key to the successful restoration of Leilani. I feel one of the ways to create this is to use the LCA website as a means of current information with questions and answers section for residents to send their concerns and questions, with answers posted for public viewing. Also, I support availability of videos of all committee and board meetings posted to the website. Since the eruption, Leilani residents have experienced looters, trespassers, squatters, and unwanted activities. And we are grateful to a group of residents who have been working with the police to remove the trespassers and secure the homes. Due to the recent flow and the media of the eruption, tourists as well as locals drive into Leilani to see the lava field and fissures as well as damage to homeowner properties. There are signs left on the floor in the front. People don't read the signs. They walk on the lava field as a patrol. We have spoken to people for safety. So these are some of the concerns that you have that I hear. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, our next speaker is Rod Kindler. Again, the question is, are you in favor or do you oppose putting a gate on Leilani Avenue?
Yeah, number, I placed that as a priority 7. It's not real high on my list. I think we have an issue. It's gate versus barrier. I don't think it was ever explained. Would I want a barrier on Malama or Kahukai? No. Would I want a gate on Malama or Kahukai? No. If I was on the board, I would verify the validity of the vote that was taken, and I would ask for legal counsel on whether it could legally be done. Some of the problems is the number of users on Miley, and the users are speeding, and I think that's an issue. You can look at speed bumps as looking outside the box. Looking outside the box, you might say, could we afford just to pave the rest of Kula, and one could use that road and stay off of Miley. A gate on Leilani Avenue, it's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. I don't think anybody should expect it to happen. I would try not to make sure that it doesn't happen. If I was going to do a gate at all, I would say the people beyond Moku would vote if they want a gate. The people beyond Kuponu would vote if they want a gate. The people on Kaivukai would vote if they wanted a gate. Those gates would be expensive to the community, but those people are really affected by this tourism issue, and I think they, if want one, should have one. Security cameras would be put up to document the damage that we expect to be happening to those gates from the people who don't want one, and they would face civil suits. And yes, outsiders could get through those gates easily. There's plenty of ways around it. Thank you.
As far as the gate's concerned, we voted, and it was approved. That being said, again, I think we need a lawyer because you can't just put up gates wherever we want. Gates on individual streets. This side of Leilani over on Malama used to be kind of like the Beverly Hills of Leilani. They had the ocean views, a lot more larger homes. It was a beautiful area. The eruption really took its toll on it with the vegetation, the homes lost, and so forth. But now you drive through there on Neighborhood Watch, we got handwritten signs that just don't look well. We have gates like third world countries, bamboo things that go up and down. I have to open it if I'm going to do Neighborhood Watch. I got to go check and see. And there's still people down on the lava where they're not supposed to, parked right in front of signs. So I think it's really important that we as a majority honor the votes. And I think it has to be done legally. And what the majority says, that's what the board's responsibility to do, is follow the majority's lead. Thanks.
Now, the desirability for a gate is inversely proportional to the distance from the lava. The closer you are, the more you want a gate. The further you are, the less you want a gate. It was voted in favor, yes. We get down to 1 gate, 2 gates, 3 gates. The question of can we gate Leilani, the legal opinion I have recently heard is yes, we can, because we did, as a corporate entity, which is the same as a city or a town, did vote to gate. Therefore, we can get a gate done. It will require the county council to pass a resolution to permit it, but they have to, otherwise they would be violating our rights as a commercial association. Beyond that, where would it go? This is going to take some more research. We probably need to reconvene the gate committee, but I do share the emotions of those that live off of Malama, south of Leilani. They have a lot of pain. Mailboxes get tipped over. There are people parking, people walking on the lava. I got a call one day, had saying that, oh gee, there was a group yesterday with 20 people on top of Fissure 8. Right now there are 8, including a couple of kids that were carried up there. Yes, we've got to do something for these folks that live in that area. They didn't ask for the lava, but the association needs to take care of them.
Okay. I did vote for the gate. I also support the results of the ballots that we sent out. We sent it out asking if we get an approval, do you want or not want a gate, okay? And the majority was for it. So the next step, I think, for us would be to get our committee together, work with the county, our county representative, and move forward as best we can.
I'm in favor of a gate, but I'm not in favor of one on Leilani Avenue. I think the more people you put behind the gate, the more complex the gate has to be, the more expensive it has to be. I think one on Kapono, South Kapono, off of Leilani Avenue is appropriate. One off of Moku South is appropriate. One on Kahukai on the opposite side. People talk about tourism or no tourism. It doesn't matter. If you don't want tourism, you need a gate to keep these people out. Every day I go down there to go check on my house and my property, I see tour vans, I see taxi cab vans, I see rental cars. It's every day. It doesn't matter what day of the week. So if you want to block them, you gotta do that. If you don't want a gate, if you don't want tourism, that's what you have to do. If you want tourism, you have to do that as well, because if you don't, it's a free-for-all. Right now it's a free-for-all. Nobody's getting anything out of it. People are exploiting the neighborhood. You're not getting anything out of it. Thank you.
When I voted for the gate, I actually did vote yes. I think we need to re-vote it. The reason being, we had specifically asked for Leilani Avenue, and I don't think that's an option. I mean, Jay says otherwise, but I don't think that's going to happen with county. I believe we would need 3 gates if the purpose is to protect people. I believe Kapono South, Moku South, and Kahukai and Kapono would block that out. And gates do not have to be permanent. It's something that can be temporary till everything's taken care of, fixed, simmer's down. And if we do gates, I would like to re-vote, send that out again based off of different locations. And something as large as a gate is not something I believe the LCA board should decide on their own. I think that's a big enough decision that the community needs input on that. Smaller things, the board day-to-day can do that. Something the size of a gate, I think, needs more community input. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Heath Dalton. Okay, so now our next question focuses on tourism. Okay, we'll be starting with Rod Kendall, and the question is, the lava flows, especially Fissure 8, will continue to draw visitors. Do you support creating some type of access for tourism in Leilani Estates? If you do, describe how that might work. Or if you are opposed to tourism here, how would you restrict access to Leilani?
Okay, I was on the original tourism committee back in August. The first meeting, 3 people showed up. Second meeting, 3 people. By about the 8th meeting, we had 9 people out of 12 who wanted to volunteer. It was an exercise in futility. Michael Hill, I don't know if he's here, he did a lot of work, more than anybody else on the committee. Pat him on the back for that. Too bad it didn't pan out. Our current policy for the board of directors is no tourism in Leilani Estates. That has not worked. We've had tourism-based businesses here for over 18 years. It's not working now. They have tours all day long, every day. It will not work, except attempts to shut down Leilani Estates landowners who try to make a buck off of tourism. There's some who want to give back to the community. The stopping of the landowners has allowed outside interest to come in, make big bucks off of our misery, taking every penny of it out of here. We get nothing as it is. Yes, controlled tours by Leilani residents for the benefit of Leilani residents and the community. I do believe in that. That's it. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Ross Stadnick, talking about access to tourism.
I believe tourism, the answer lies with everybody here. I think it's something that needs to be voted on, and the majority have to decide yes. Once it's decided yes or no, then we have to figure out the proper way to do it. It has to be that we're one community, one association, we're all in this together, and everybody should partake equally, that everybody's voice should be heard, taken into consideration, and then a plan to come up and do it. It shouldn't be just certain individuals making money off of it, whether that be people who are already in Leilani or other tourism companies around the island bringing people in. And you know, all of this kind of works together with getting legal help. I mean, you put in gates here and there. We've heard about putting the separate gates. What about here on Leilani, where they park in front of the no parking right at the end of the flow? I mean, when I pulled in tonight, every night when I turn on Tomoka to come to the park, I count how many cars are down there parked in front. It doesn't, if we put up the gates that are talked about tonight, it does nothing about that. So that's the new tourism spot. That's not fair to those homeowners. So it has to be something that the entire community votes on and approves. It's a democratic process. That's my thoughts. Thanks.
Okay, next is Jay Tchaikovsky.
You either lick them or join them. They're coming. They have been coming. I've done a little studying of this, rolling around some numbers in the back of my head. We're currently this year losing about $1.5 million in tourism dollars for this little attraction that we've accumulated. How to handle that best? There are many ways. I would suggest up front that we get a committee put together to study this and see what kind of options we have, and then put those options to vote, all the way up to nothing, to pick this form, that form. There are solutions. Technically, it is illegal for someone living in here to be running tourism because it's operating a non-agricultural business on an ag-zoned property. We haven't had any success there because we haven't made any legal push on it. But that would be my take. We need to study it. We need to then get an opinion, because just to say openly yes or no, it's a little vague. There needs to be a way. Thank you.
Okay, next we'll have Greg Armstrong. I'm sorry to make you walk all that way.
Okay, as far as tourism, I'm not really for it. It bothers me to see all these poor people down here close to the lava getting overrun with tourists every day. Actually, the patrol that I do on Neighborhood Watch is early Thursday morning. There must not be tour boats in there, because I see maybe one a week, and when they see my flashing light coming, they leave. I think it also depends on where you live in Leilani as to how you're affected. The people further away, I live right here in Moku, and as far, it doesn't affect me at all, but I do feel for the people down there that it does affect. So I think when we start talking about taking boats, we need to think about the people that are down there close to it, and not just how it's only affecting us. It affects everybody.
Next we'll hear from Chris Burmeister.
Yeah, I'm in favor of tourism, but it has to be done the right way, and in my mind, the right way, because I'm one of those people that is in the flow. It affects me. I lost a home. I know how people feel about it, and it's a very sensitive issue. But the only way I can see tourism working in this neighborhood is if a percentage is put aside by business owners, landowners who are conducting the business for a lava victims fund, and money set aside for LCA to compensate for the lost revenue. That is something I could see happening. And honestly, there's only a handful of people in this neighborhood that could even host something like that. They're not going to go to Alapai. They're not going to go to Moku North. There's only a handful of spots in this neighborhood that you could even do that. Getting the tourist off the streets is important. It makes it it's a safer environment. Tourism, under ag tourism, you can't prevent people from conducting agricultural businesses on ag land. Doesn't matter about CCRs. You can't prevent them from doing it. As long as it has an agricultural component, you can do it. Thank you.
And next up, we'll be hearing from Heath Dalton.
If it's simply a vote of yes, support tourism, or no, I would vote no. However, everybody knows that's not the situation. My place on Kapono, it doesn't matter when you go there, there's hundreds of people a day, literally. We're missing the boat in that, in my personal opinion. Anybody in this room who thinks that you're not going to have your dues raised or special assessment in the future, it's going to happen. There's no way with losing 35% of the revenue that's not eventually going to come back. And I think doing tourism would put more money in the coffers of Leilani than they've ever seen, again, if it's done correctly. And the way to do it correctly is I agree that it should be done where money is coming back to the community, and it would make the tours less intrusive. You would have to select specific properties, and I believe that would be the best way to take advantage of it. And just like I said, on Kapono, that's kind of the main attraction now, because you have Fisher 8, Fisher 9, you can see everything going through there. Go spend some time at Kapono on a Tuesday. You are literally going to see hundreds and hundreds of people. And anybody who says otherwise is not spending any time out there. And I just come in as I have time here and there, and there's not a time where I come where it's not just loaded. So yes, I believe tourism could be used to our advantage. Thank you.
And next we'll have Robert Golden.
Certain advantages in going last. I really enjoyed just sitting down and listening to all the really informed comments. And really, for me, it was like democracy at its best. And what I took from that, the range of people's opinions and beliefs, is is the middle way, that you could ban tourism, hypothetically, because you feel tourism is bad, or you could just do nothing about it and there'll be tourists. I really believe in the middle way, that we can organize tourism. It's a win-win, that it could be a way of educating people who come here and people who live here about the lava, have an interpretive guide and signs around, like I did in Vacation Land about the tidal pools. So we provide an educational function. We could provide a financial function in terms of raising money, as has already been spoken to. And we could, celebrate what is unique about Leilani. And that's why I believe we should be honoring what this event and how it's transformed people's lives for the good, for the worse, because that's who we are as a community. To use this to do that. Thank you.
Mr. Jeremiah, would you like to speak to this issue? Okay. So now we'll be moving on to our fourth question, which is communications between the board and the members of the of Leilani Estates. Many of our members would like to hear more and more often from the board of directors and the Leilani Community Association. And the question is, how would you improve LCA transparency and communication between the board and the residents? And we're beginning with, okay.
Rick, this is a 1 minute.
Okay, get your 1 minute set. I'll take advantage of 2 seconds. Historically, LCA has had very little to communicate. The board meets for an hour, they read the minutes from the last meeting, check how much money's in the bank, go around the room and are the streets clean? Yep, adjourn. Then we have a little event. Now all of a sudden everyone wants to know about everything, and the mechanism for doing it isn't there. I've been starting to push on that. Just discovered today a real problem. I've been thinking about how do we do things like video conferencing. Let anybody come to and watch our meetings. We find out that right now we don't have enough bandwidth from Spectrum because we have never asked for it. So that's a real problem. We would be streaming more, can be. We're now getting the website set up better, so then we just need the format of how our members, how our board goes forward.
Okay, Greg Armstrong, the long walk again. And I want to thank all of our speakers because everybody is staying on time and we are right on schedule. So y'all are doing a great job.
Okay, yeah, I guess up until the last few months our meetings were so boring, nobody wanted to even come and listen to them. So it's nice that everyone's been getting involved, and now we have started doing, videoing the stuff and streaming live. So that's something we need to look at going forward. The technology is there, we just haven't needed it in the past, but it looks like we need it now.
Okay, Chris Burmeister.
Okay, as far as transparency goes, is that okay? I think LCA should have an official Facebook page that they control, and they put updates on their actual website to inform everybody of what's new, what's latest and greatest. As far as emailing, I emailed 5 days ago. I haven't gotten a response off of something regarding standard operating procedures involving vote counts, who sees them, on and on. Haven't gotten anything back. So that's just one example. But I think there's a lot can be done. We can use technology a little bit wiser and inform people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Heath Dalton.
For communication, I believe they need a more timely posting of the minutes. And I think the biggest thing for the board is to bring them up to the 21st century. I think everybody needs to have LCA emails and stop using personal emails so that they are associated with the board, which would be leilaniestates.org, and they would be owned obviously by the association. And I believe we also need an official social media account. I'm not a social media user myself. My wife is. I do not. But I do right now. You'll have Jake post or Greg post or somebody else post. I think we need an official LCA account, and anything that comes from that is not a personal opinion. It's an official statement from the board. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Okay, next up is Robert Golden.
Communication is vital. And fortunately, we live in this 21st century world, and we're not fully taking advantage of what's available to us. I think it's very important that we update everyone who can be on an email connection. That we could, for example, use survey polls to find out how people are feeling about certain issues and really get more immediate responses. It's obviously necessary that minutes are distributed in a very timely way. For me, timely would be 1 week, not 1 month. And the more the board is in communication with the community, and the community is in communication with the board, and it's going back and forth, that's how you build a healthy community. And let's take advantage of that.
Mr. Jeremiah, would you like to speak on this issue? No. Okay. How about Rod Kendall?
First section is transparency. The number one way I see to be transparent is the documents, standard operating procedures. That would be an upper level document that you would access on Leilani Estates org, which exists now. If you have a question, you could go there and look. If you didn't have an answer there, then I would say for communication, Leilani Estates 2 Facebook page. It concerns Leilani Estates business. You ask, you get answers in a relatively fast manner. You do not let questions sit out there in la land. I've asked questions before, I don't get answers. That forced me to go to social media where I got some unfavorable and not complimentary answers, which I'll address later. I want to be just stop the conjecture, just get nothing but the facts, put it out there and document it. If you see it, you can read it. You say what you're going to do, and then you do what you say.
Okay, we'll finish up with Ross Stadnick.
As far as transparency goes, I think that all board members should answer all members in good standing of questions that they can. I don't believe the way it's being handled lately on Nextdoor and Facebook, there's just so much hatred and it just goes on and on and on. That's not the official spot to look for information, and you have to look at the feeds and they keep getting longer and longer and longer, and they get nastier and nastier and nastier. That's not the way to do any type of business. I'm not going to answer stuff like that. I'm not going to play that game. If I'm on the board, I will answer any questions that are directed through LCA as best as I possibly can to keep people informed. I believe in having people come to our meetings and having them all videotaped, streamed, so that everybody can participate whether they're here on the island or not. I just think that's the way to do it, not Nextdoor.
Okay, we'll be finishing up here with closing statements. We'll be beginning with Heath Dalton. And as he's coming up here, I'll just give a quick explanation. This is a 2-minute question, and it's not really a question. It's just a closing statement. Each of you now have 2 minutes, and if we have time, maybe we'll give it a little bit more, but probably 2 minutes.
We actually have enough to give it about 2:20.
2:20, okay. That's because y'all have been such a great audience. They get 2 minutes and 20 seconds for your background, from your background, not ideas mentioned. So you can talk about your own background, ideas that we didn't discuss so far tonight, or elaborate on an earlier question that you didn't have enough time for.
I'd just like to thank everybody for your time of coming out. In the past, we've usually had 6 to 10 people to volunteer for anything. And I think having the community involvement and interest is paramount for us moving forward. And as the board, I believe there's a lot of things that need change there as far as the board works for the people and the people don't work for the board. But it, based off a lot of things I have read, everybody expects to be involved in everything, and that's just not going to happen. Like I said, I do believe in the larger decisions, the community at large should be involved, but in the everyday smaller decisions, they do not need to be involved. As far as any of the questionnaires that were sent out, I kind of went in a little more detail, I think, than most people did on the flyer that was handed out. So after this is over, feel free to read that, ask me any questions. Tourism, I do believe I don't believe, I know that is the future. It's what's here. Whether you want it or not, if you look, there's vans, there's taxis, everybody's got them every day. People are getting their mailboxes knocked down. We need to get that under control. So to say we do not have tourism, it's just, that's not an option. It's here. You know, whether you want it or not, it's definitely here. And gates, I believe, are a very big point of contention, and that needs to be looked at again. Gates are one thing. The barricades between 1 and 2, I do not understand that. That makes no sense to me. I don't understand why we're barricading section 1 from section 2. There's no point in that. And mine, I guess I would need to hear the board why they came up with that. But to me, that should not even be addressed. There's no reason for that. I don't believe a gate on Leilani would do anything. But I think at this point, the main point of the gate is for the looky-loos and the tourists. And I told you where I think those should go. But if anybody has any questions or I say anything, please, after this is done, come up, talk to me, ask away. I'm an open book. Thank you for your time.
Next is Robert Golden.
When I sat down, when I first arrived, I said to myself, wow, this reminds me of Leilani meetup over the summer. It was just really exciting just to see everyone sitting and participating. And for me, this is community. And this is the basis by which we can create an incredible Leilani. I really believe that if I'm elected, I'm going to push this board to create an event where we can identify what is the vision for Leilani. Where do you want to be in 5 years? What kind of community do you want to live in? I really believe in working from the end backwards. You know, so what's our mission? Where are we going? Let's work toward that. For example, we live in this beautiful stretch of land right out there, totally underutilized. Do you want to have a more expansive infrastructure here? A place to, for example, I believe when Leilani was first organized, there were supposed to be tennis courts and golf course, swimming pool. Well, I'm not necessarily speaking for those 3 things, but the point is, what kind of community do you want to live in? Let's create it together. The board here is really going to put in place what your ideas are in an organized fashion. And also, don't expect the board to do everything. This has to be a community effort. I really believe in distributive leadership. The squatter community is a very good example of that. That's how we'll function and live and flourish and thrive as a community. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Ms. Jeremiah, would you like to make a closing statement?
Really great ideas. Thank you all. Appreciate that. That's why I didn't have anything to say, because they said it all. So yes, looking forward to our new way of being in Leilani Estates. And I'm proud to be a resident here and to see all of your faces tonight and your concerns and how you want to rebuild and restore so that we can be the light that we are. Blessings to each one of you.
Ms. Rivera, do you want to say anything at the end?
I would like to say that if I'm elected on your board, I will do my best to try and help the people in Leilani and, you know, wish that we could all get past this, because This is the best subdivision in Puna, and people have talked about it, and I'm proud to live here, and I'm sure you all are too. Thank you very much for your time.
Rod, would you like to speak at the end? Rod Kendall.
Just want to comment about businesses in Leilani Estates. You say they're not allowed to have any businesses here. I've identified slightly over 45 businesses in Leilani. This is including businesses that were under the law now. I did not break out which ones were ag, but the majority of them are not ag, so you do have business here. Next thing I do is buy a new speaker system. Okay, and I want to do an example of what an SOP, a standard operating procedure, would do for you. I asked on Nextdoor and the community and Leilani State Board, what happens to ballots sent in, how protected, who touches. I received 3 replies. The first one, and the gentleman's here standing up, but I won't point to him.
It's me.
Said, was I diagnosed as delusionally paranoid? My answer is no, and now I'd like to digress to your level. I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. Now let's go back to adult time.
Welcome to the 3rd grade.
Let's see. Next one was, it would be revealed tonight what the procedure is. That has not been revealed. A board member did answer some questions to Cheryl Carroll. I didn't see that on any of the media sites. Addressing one person just doesn't do it, and particularly concerned about protecting the ballot. Why that answer wasn't shared with the community, I'm not sure. Why I allowed them to fester on social media, that's a problem. It goes back to communication. An honest answer would have been, we do not have a policy or procedure, because you don't if you can't produce it. We cannot guarantee the sanctity of the ballots. And would you step forward and help us in the future, our election, to ensure our elections are beyond repute? That would have been a good answer. If my ballot is open without a neutral third party present, then it is contaminated. If I open my envelope, which I can't because it's glued shut, it's considered contaminated. We saved $9. We could have bought peel and seal envelopes, and you wouldn't have had them come to you glued shut. And the lick and sticks were, you saved $9 over the lick and stick. Right? That was just one example of an SOP. If you have that all documented, nailed down, written out, topic, subject, A, B, C, you follow that, you can't go wrong, or you can improve on it. Thank you.
Okay, Ross Stadnick.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of the people that decided to run for this election. I think it just amazes me over years past. My only concern is I hope that everybody that's running is running for the benefit of all of you. Everybody here, not for just personal gain. This is paradise. It's my paradise. I want it to be everybody else's paradise going forward. The involvement, having people get on committees that will help do things, because I've noticed that in the 4 years that I've been here, nobody wants to help. There's a few people that volunteer and do all the work, and people come and enjoy it, but you need everybody. I like it. It's amazing what an eruption has done for our neighborhood. All the bad things, but there's a lot of good that can come out of it. And it means all of us working together and total transparency. We're all working for the same goal, the betterment of Leilani. So that's basically what I have to say.
Okay, Jay Drahowski.
Thank you. I've been kind of pushing the idea that we need a, shall we say, press secretary. Our old Leilani Estates, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, that is the chosen person to basically put out the communication, speaks well, looks well, as opposed to some of us anyway. That's in the work. Regarding responding to people, there's somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 residents in our development There's 7 members on the board, of which only 5 are really active at all. Do the math. It sometimes can get backed up and get frustrating. Some days, because I have other things going on, I process between 50 and 150 emails in a day. Another area, you all vote for us, put us in office, therefore you have to have faith that you've made a good choice and not expect to administrate us every step of the way. It's like your kids. You pick the right ones, you raise them up, and you got to let them go on their own. I've been involved in the last week or two with another group of homeowners associations, specifically impacted by the lava. I just got word on a phone call as we were setting up here tonight that we do have a very good shot at getting FEMA funds. And this would be used for things like restoring Kahukai all the way to Leilani. Part of the push will be to force the county also to pursue this, which means that they would open up Leilani Avenue to Poiki, because the attempt is going to be to open Poiki and 132 as well as the rest of 137. Gosh sakes, I'm almost there. I want to thank everyone for coming this evening, and I'll give back 15 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Greg Armstrong. And while he's walking down here, I just want to remind everybody that because we expected a pretty good crowd and we didn't think we would have time for audience questions, we do ask you all to stay late and come up individually and speak to the candidates one-on-one. We think you'll get better answers that way.
Okay, I've been on the board for 7 years now and pretty much tried to follow the bylaws and everything as best I can. I'm sure I didn't do everything perfect, may have made mistakes along the way, but that's basically what we try to do. I'll address your question about how the ballots are handled. And it's kind of, Kim opens every envelope that comes in, because what happens, even though your envelope says ballot only enclosed, people send their checks in it. So we have to open them to get them out. It also has to be checked to make sure that she marks on there for we have 2 people who come in on the Friday before the membership meeting and count ballots for us. So Kim goes through, checks them, and marks as to how many votes they're actually allowed to have. So when the vote counters come in on the Friday and again on Saturday, they look and they make sure that that balances. The votes are mostly tallied Friday, and then the last minute ones that come in, some people bring them in with them on the meeting that day. I check the mail as soon as it comes on Saturday. We open them, check them, and those votes also get counted. The ballots, we keep them for a year, so anybody can come in, they can make an appointment to come in and review the ballots to see if there's any concerns with them. But everything's there, they keep all the records, the ones that get disqualified for whatever reason. But all the information is there, you just gotta ask for it. The responses lately that you may have sent in by email are slow. The office has been swamped. I mean, we had to get our statements out with all the 700 and whatever lots that were lost. Kim had to manually go in and take those out. Then as we're going through stuffing envelopes, we had to look for the ones we may have missed, okay? So somebody may still got one that they shouldn't have, so all they gotta do is just let us know. Okay, so that's basically it. Thank you.
Okay, and the last candidate tonight will be Chris Burmeister.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I think I love this neighborhood. This is where I chose to raise my children. They were here in diapers, and now one's just joining the service. So, you know, I've spent some time here. I know there's a lot of people that have been here 40 years. I think we got to figure out a way to move forward. It's been a hectic few months. almost, 10 months now. We've got to figure out a way to look out for the people out in the lava. Their interests are important, just as important as everybody that's left behind here. And we need to work together to make a better future for this neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, so in the introduction, it was mentioned that I have been on the Orchid Society and the Palm Society, and I'll tell you, it is so hard to get people to volunteer to do leadership and to work. And so I hope that all of you will give a huge round of applause to these candidates who are volunteering their time. Because whoever wins the election, they're going to get bitched at nonstop for the next year. They are coming in for some punishing treatment. And I hope that all of you will be very, very nice to them. Nobody agrees on everything. And so when things don't go your way, please come and talk to them, explain your point of view. Maybe you can get something done to your liking, but it's a tough job, and these people have stepped up to volunteer a huge amount of their time. So thank all of you for having such a great audience, and please take a few extra minutes and come up and speak with the candidates.